Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.
Hello, this is Werewolf the Podcast, and this is your werewolf Wil talking. We are currently on episode 109 in this epic, very large story that is my life as a werewolf. Well, after our little journey away to the present day with Malice the Alice, we return to Thorstein in his Viking times. It's been a real group effort to get this podcast. Well, I didn't really mean it to get this large or anything, but thank you very much. You guys have been amazing. Thanks for doing all the things I don't understand, like downloading it on various platforms, or liking it, or getting notifications, or doing all that kind of nonsense. Really helps us find the lunatic fringe, that's the one, it's like a fringe, isn't it, that likes this kind of thing. The Facebook group is growing rapidly and is an absolute place of sanctuary from a world gone mad. Check it out if you go down to the podcast description, or if you're on YouTube, the YouTube description. You can join these groups. There's Twitter and Instagram, and I'm on TikTok. Yeah, I know. Sorry, I apologize. All of these things cost you nothing. I don't have a Patreon. Is it Patreon, or Discord? Because I don't know what they are, but apparently they're like paywalls. I don't put any, paywall up for this sick puppies bullshit to hide behind. Just good, free, unwholesome fun. Sadly, the Facebook group voted for the Sally character to be allowed to live, so she'll be back. Yeah, great. Not what I wanted, but hey. I asked you guys and you answered wrong. Oh yeah, last bit of housekeeping. Had an expert in Norse culture congratulate me on how well I had researched for the podcast. He was like, "It's so accurate." That was actually his voice. He doesn't want to be named or linked to the podcast because he doesn't. Apparently studying divinity and religion and stuff and linking it with this is a bad thing. Might get cancelled, whatever that is. What's cancelled? I don't know what's cancelled. Anyway, moving on. Well, it might be because he lives in Aberdeen. You didn't say I couldn't say that you didn't live in Aberdeen, did you, Doctor, whatever your name is? He was slightly offended when I told him that it wasn't research and that Fen was actually there. He blocked me and everything. I think he thinks that I'm lying. Don't get it. So here we go, back to Thorstein and the Viking times.
On a mission like an infantry soldier. Mad musical freedom fighter. On a mission like an infantry soldier. Mad musical freedom fighter.
She is mine. I've worked so hard for her, and she is mine. Waters lap at those perfectly proportioned curves. She smells fresh and new, a virgin for her first outing, a beautiful longship, Fudan. I helped build her even, and much of it was with Odin's help. We added new details and returned to some of the older methods that worked better than the new ones. Even at the dock, she looks like she's travelling fast, a live creature ready to chase down her prey. I've sailed her twice, and she cuts the water like the finely honed weapon that she is. Today we're making our way west. My crew are nervous. We do not really normally go anywhere but east, but they trust me, and I follow my nose and senses. Fenrir and I know that there is something more. There is a very, very nice land to the west that is where my name and my fortune will be made. I've spoken to many travellers and traders, and there's talk of the islands to the west being settled by people on good land with great wealth. A few boats have been there, mainly on small raids and mainly trading, to be honest. Many small villages on the coast are unprotected and apparently ripe for the picking. We go for one reason though. We go for the people. It does not matter about, the wealth of the nation as long as there's a population there that we can take. Our journey will not have much room for slaves as this boat is full of fighters, but we will travel with those with space for many. The traders have been convinced to take out the middleman in this trade. With their aid, we will be able to take many people. The Saxons think they are safe and that we are traders, but we're not. Who would attack the might of a place called Northumbria? We will be in and gone before any of the nation can even react, and why trade when you can just take? We did not believe that they had the wealth and status to give us a good return on our landings, but there are plenty of them apparently, so that at least we will fill our ship with bodies for the market. The visiting trader Wulstan showed us the rich cloth and the trinkets he traded with the Saxons, but the sword at his hip was much more interesting. It was of much finer quality and it looked like it was made by the hand of the dwarves, or so it seemed by its beauty. We had no idea that it was such a rich land, and to be honest, I was intrigued. Fudan is beautiful. She sits in the water, and Fen and my wolf soul stands at the prow as a second figurehead. With him in this prominent position, she looks even more like a creature just ready to attack. Her hull is 30 paces long and 6 paces wide, and she's the largest raiding ship in the port. I'm really proud. She's lap straight built. The oak planks run lengthways and overlap. I've chosen tree nails, wood, to bind them together, allowing the boat to flex more in the rough seas. The iron nails kind of rust soon and can actually tear the moving lumber. In this case, the old ways of construction are the best. The hull is almost watertight just from the boatwright's build. His work is so accurate, but we've stuffed the wool packing into the gaps we can see. Again, it moves with the hull on the water and doesn't break down like the moss packing often used. All this was planned with the help of the Allfather. He'd been in my dreams showing me how to make it happen, and it would be on the ocean. How she will sail and how she will strike fear in those that see the sail once she comes recognised for the cargo of killers she carries, and helping with my plans. Odin's been wonderful, and the boat is perfect. The ship is long, thin, and shallow drafted, so we can take her onto land without damage, or far up rivers to gain access inland. A perfect design with perfect function. She's got 60 oars on her, and we've oarlocks, not oar ports, so that the oars can be moved and dealt with much more quickly. Without oar ports, we can also have the shallower draft, which means we can travel further inland for any ripe pickings that may be there. The steerboard is large on the right side of the boat and set so that it can be easily lifted when required. We also have a spare. That accident will never happen again. The mast is slightly towards the centre of the boat. When the wind is with us, when Odin grants us the need for relief, it saves our backs. When the sun burns us or the rain falls, we can tent it to give us some minor relief from the elements. Both front and rear are the ornate godheads of Odin's wolves, the greedy and the ravenous. They represent my warrior band, 'cause I suppose we're greedy, and we're ravenous. When you see our boat on the horizon, you better be prepared for a fight. She's only really designed for one thing, to carry us to that fight. She's had 3 sacrificed for her, a man, a woman, and a child. All gave their strength to the boat. Their blood still stains the wood where their necks were torn. Odin takes the man to his hall for his service. The woman will tend the needs of Njord, the god of the sea. The child runs to Freya's arms, giving her something to love while we do our harsh work. She's packed with a heavy load of 60 men and 1 wolf soul for this journey, but Fudan does not lower her draft even though the boat is loaded. She's been very well built, and under oar moves at such a speed that none can maintain a pace with us at sea. She takes on little water, and the boat offers no concern about her being seaworthy. It's been a long and grueling winter waiting for the weather to raid, and then much of the summer was weather for food and to be finished, but the sea is at peace today. The Midgard serpent does not writhe at its circumference. As the monster rests, the sea is still, a perfect day to set out. We're loaded and stocked for 5 days. It shouldn't take that long to find a landing, but as we all know, the sea is a mystery, and how Njord treats us on the journey will be important to us. In good conditions and with an easterly wind, it may take less than a day to see the shores we seek. We travel back with the traders we met. Thorstein has made the journey many times, and I've talked to him about joining us when I mention our intentions and how we can make a massive profit from our cooperation. Our shields are stowed, and from a distance we look much like the tradesmen boats that sail with us. These merchants will also enjoy the fact that we had some defence against privation as we travel, their ships of small crews when out of harbour. I've genuine reasons for our travel together. They will act as cover for our raiding crew. The Saxons are used to seeing the trading ships of the Northmen. They will be aware of my boat of predators when it's too late. They also have a lot of room for the prisoners we will take for slaving, and they will then take them to be sold for plunder. It requires a lot of space for us to have many slaves to pay for our journey. Njord continues to bless us as we leave port and raise the great red and white sail to catch the wind he sends us. He pushes us perfectly. He must be excited to see us go. Maybe he knows better about our fate than us and wants to speed our journey to its outcome. Has he spoken with the Nords? I taste the iron bitterness of excitement in my own mouth. This was what I was born to do. Fenrir is completely cooped up on the ship and very uncomfortable, and I must reassure him that it will all be good. I'm not a natural for a sea voyage either. Wolves were not made for the sea. The night finds us becalmed, so rowers set their backs to work to make progress while others rest, ready to take on the task at daylight. This sounds like a bad thing, but it is much preferable to the opposite. Storms and harsh weather would destroy us, or could destroy us. The calm means we have to work, but we're good at that. We have a clear night, so we can follow the sparks of the sky to find our port. Thorstein and his men have talked of a site that may interest us. There is a large building on an island off the mainland. He tells us that it's important to the Christians. It's a large place with many of their priests living there for its upkeep and to maintain its reverence. Unlike our own priests, apparently, these men are not of violence. They're not trained warriors needed to protect such a place. They are men of words and story. We laugh at this. A group of men protecting a site unarmed, unarmoured, and untrained. We think he jests with us, but he's hurt by such and tells us that it's true. The island apparently has about 500 people living there. Most are priests, but there are farmers and some soldiers. But the church, as he calls this Christian place, is unprotected as their God protects it. He tells us that the people of the Christian religion would never attack such a place. It would be against everything that they stand for, everything they believe. To do so would mean that they'd be thrown from their faith and outlawed. Fury laughs at this. He tells the men present they cannot be removed from a faith that is not present in them, that their God has left a small gap in the plan, and we Ostmen can crack it open. Thorstein tells us of the wealth and the riches that are there and unprotected. This seems too good to be true, but we want those slaves, really. He talks of gold, jewels, and other prizes. I'm not convinced. Who would leave treasure unprotected? The Saxons cannot be that stupid. The treasure will be a bonus if present. 500 people is a good number to choose good quality slaves from. We will be rich from that alone. On the second day afternoon we sight land. The gulls come to meet us. It's been an easy journey, and a strange easterly sits at our backs, gently driving us in the direction of our target. Things go too well, but we shouldn't get complacent. Fenrir takes up his place at the fore of the boat. He wants his paws on solid land, and I can feel him will the boat forward. I also start to feel the itch of excitement at the battle. Confrontation excites us. I hope we find worthy opponents for the fight. We slowly tack up the coast, and a small island sits off its shore. It is found, but we still need to see evidence of the large buildings we want. The fields are well tended, and tiny homes are in abundance. The crop we need is there. We see the people. This is how it should be, as Wolfden has said. The other side of the island is in the lee of most storms and winds, and has the perfect site to beach near the church. As we get closer and closer to the land, my exceptional werewolf sense is taking much more information than the others around me. The earth is rich, and the land smells of growth and fecundity, so different from our own farmlands back home. Fenrir and I combine into our werewolf form and stand at the boat's prow. This builds the excitement of my warriors. They know what this means. This means they get to be bloodied. I howl to the sky, then transform back into my man as I take an oar, myself, and push my brothers up to the pace. There are people on the shore as we come closer to the land. They wave and smile at us. They actually greet us, and they show merriment. They show no fear. This is too easy. They must be used to seeing the striped sails of the northern traders. I will dye my sail in the blood of those that die this day. Maybe the red sail will cause fear in the future. They will get to know the red sails being not of the traders, but of the raiders. The people here will be healthy and fit and ripe for the taking, and perfect to be sold in the markets at home. As we turn the headland, a large beach and the buildings come into view, and people rush to meet us on the beach. There must be at least 50 of them, women, children and men, that are so excited to see the traders from another land. They shout their hellos to the boats and seem to welcome us. A few men are amongst them, but there's no sign of sword or armour, no sign of a single warrior. Many of the men are dressed as each other in long, brown, seemingly rough-spun garments, and they're like tied at the waist by a rope. Most of them have long, unkept beards and hair. I suppose these must be the men of the god that Woolston told us of. They're truly weak and pathetic looking, but they seem to have some kind of confidence in themselves that they exude. They seem to have some authority over the others surrounding them, but there's no threat by anyone. I mean, really, this should excite me as it's a gift for us, but I don't really trust the situation. It looks too easy. We've been tricked before, and Fenrir laughs at this. Thorstein, we're going to play the ultimate joke on these fools, he sends into my head by thought. I laugh. My dogs are strangely affected by this friendly greeting. They're offset. People are normally afraid and running from us, not to us. Building the anger and the animosity required against these paltry things is kind of difficult. I can smell the disappointment. My warriors aren't happy with attacking the weak. They're always looking for a fight, and this seems like it will, not be one. We're not cruel savages, we're fighters. This is all crazy. As we beach with the aid of the people meeting us, they actually take the ropes we offer to them, and they drag the boats almost ashore before we lift the covers and draw our weapons and shields. None of us don armour. We just simply jump from the boat, ready for what? For massacre? The people stop, and it seems to take a moment for them to realise what is happening, and then they still can't believe it. I mean, we're pretty calm, and we don't show any anger or aggression as we drop into the shallow water from the boat. A guy runs forward to shake the hand of the first Viking in the water. It's bizarre. He reaches forward, and Leif stops and smiles at him confused, and then plunges his sword into the man's chest. The man's smile turns to disbelief as he looks at the hilt that stands proud. Leif maintains his smile and his confusion as he looks at the poor Saxon. He looks into his eyes as he falls onto his knees in the salt water. He's confused. Leif kicks him free from the blade and laughs as he turns to his brothers and opens his arms to them. Jump in, brothers! The water is lovely. We start to take our crop. We have 20 captured and butchered 12 quickly before getting off the beach. We pass the captives back to our boats. The monks fall to their knees and offer prayers as we try to drag them to the ships. They refuse to walk and wanted to make it difficult for us to get them on board the ships, becoming like dead weight and refusing to climb aboard. Leif takes the oldest one, who seems to be the leader of this refusal. I think he's told the monks not to offer aid to us in any way. "Go thou wilt save us," he shouts out to the others. This really annoys Leif, so he drags the man into the sea, where he dunks his whole body underneath, lifting him briefly to get a small breath between returning him to the water for another bathing. The man coughs and splutters as he surfaces. Leif lifts him and offers him help to get aboard the boat. The old man makes a mistake where he spits seawater and words at Leif. It's too much for him to bear, so he looks at me quizzically. I mean, this old man would be worth so little, so Leif can do what he wishes with him. I smile and nod as Leif smiles and nods back, and then he pushes the monk deep into the water, laughing in his face before it's submerged. The old man's hands scramble at his wrists as bubbles rise to the surface around the struggling figure. The kicking and the fighting slowly lessen before the body goes limp in Leif's hands. Some of the younger monks start to cry and moan. They're offering prayers again to the sky. Leif keeps the body deep in the water, his face a picture of morose boredom as he does so. Only when fully satisfied that the priest is dead does he let the body go. It floats to the surface, eyes wide. Water runs from the dead open mouth as the body rotates face down. Leif kicks the body away from the boat and the beach, and the dead man starts his own little sea journey. The other monks are all flapping like fucking farmyard fowl as Leif looks at the next priest, offering him a hand to get in the boat. This one looks at the old priest's body as it floats away and grips Leif gratefully as he's lifted into the trader's ship. "They learn quick. These must be the scholars you told us of, Wulfstan," I shout to the crew of the trading ship. Once the beach has been cleared, we get together in order to make our way to the main buildings. The traders and the shipmen stay with the boats to guard them and the slaves we've already taken. We tack up helms and chains as our protection. We can hope there will be worthy warriors to fight, so we take our time and prepare. A bell starts to ring in the distance. The people will now be warned and as prepared as they can be. The truth is, we could already go home in profit with what we have if all of them survive, but why not go and cause a bit more trouble and go and see the sights of this part of Northumberland? We trudge from the beach. Fen runs ahead unseen, giving me information as he travels quickly back and forth. Well trained, we are very aware of the chance that we could be ambushed at any point, but nothing comes. Fenrir would have spotted them anyway, well before they had the opportunity. On the edge of the beach are two large wooden and thatch huts. I already know there's no one there around them. Fenrir has done his scouting and I ignore them. I know what they are already. One is an empty home, the hearth still warm, and the other is a site for storing boats and other odds and ends. Nothing really we want, so I leave 2 men to torch the buildings and then catch up with us. Why burn them, you may ask? I've learnt that many people hide in these times of fear. They make clever little places in which to sit and outwait an attack. It would take a while to sniff them all out and take them. In the past, it was a common way for, people to stay hidden from us. I was taught earlier that the easiest way to empty a building of people is to destroy that building, to put it to the torch. People often fear the more immediate death of flame than the probable death that awaits outside. We Vikings don't really understand this, as your time is fated. Accept it. The weak do not accept this and run like rats and vermin straight into our arms, more often than not grateful to have escaped the burning building. Also, fire causes much fear. I like causing fear. It brings me fame, and fame brings me respect. Respect brings me power. As we continue our way up the path from the beach, we notice a high wooden lookout tower on a bluff to our left. There are a group of 10 or so men there. Some are armoured, and some sort of sit and watch our journey. Fen reports that they're not making a move from the building. Maybe they've more sense than to sally forth and meet the 70 or so of us. Again, you may ask why we don't deal with these men directly. Again, I've learnt that it's often difficult to dig people out of these little forts, so I make all aware of it, especially our rear guard, just in case those men sort out to meet us. We may as well wait for them to come out instead of trying to assault a fortified place. If they don't come, I suppose then we'll get to them eventually. Maybe not. To our right, we see a large stone building. When I say large, I mean it's probably the largest I've ever seen unprotected. It's not a place of fortification. There's no wall surrounding it. There's not even like a wooden enclosure, just a small fence of no more than wooden bits and dry stone walls to keep livestock from the grounds. And it's not less successful at that either. There's sheep on the grounds eating, and there's rows of standing stones and crosses in the grass. As we approach the building, there's no one around. I can sense that they're inside the huge stone place. They're all in that place ahead. It's got large doors that are closed and I assume braced against us. Fenrir jogs up beside me and I invite him to go and check out its contents. I send some men around the building to block other ways out and set them ready for us to breach the doors. The door is old. It's of good, solid wood with many nails in its structure so that the axe will be dulled. So we start to press our bodies to it, pushing and heaving. Inside, the people are screaming and shouting, but then are calmed as they're brought back to quiet prayer. Do they really think that their God is going to stop us? He does not even seem to be trying to help them at this point. I strip off my clothes and armour as I prepare to transform. The men stop at the door and laugh and cheer at my stripped tees. It is a counterpoint to the prayers that are going on inside the building. As the Vikings cheer and chant, I am a head above the tallest man as I walk forward as the wolfman. My pelt is pure black, the dull black of the ash at the base of a fire. It absorbs the light, and even in the midsummer sun it turns me into a black shadow during the day. As I walk, my men fall in behind me. They're used to this transformation, and to them it's nothing new to see me in this form. In fact, it excites them as much bloodshed often follows these transformations. I stand before the doors now and sniff the sickly sweet smell of burning herbs in the church. I sense the fear. I smell it oozing off the people inside. Their voices are together in prayer. They have such faith that they believe that their God will do something to help them. I start to lean heavily on the doors, and the stifled cries are heard from inside, which are shushed. I push back and forth against those doors which hold and are very firmly braced. I lean into it as they start to shift, eventually using my shoulder and the whole of my body to get them moving back and forth. With an enormous crack, the doors fly open and the dark room and its contents become apparent. What must I look like to those in this church? This giant demonic creature with burning amber eyes, stealing the light from the world, stands before the crowd as they stop their prayers and offer the more guttural cries of fear and loss of hope to the world, whilst backing away past rows of many benches. There must be over 100 people in here. My eyes adapt quickly and I snarl at the group. The place is full of gold. There are rich pictures and beautiful tapestries. There's more wealth here than I've ever seen. I just stand for a moment. Well, Fen and I stand for a moment and just take this all in. As well as the monks, the room is full of people ranging from the well-to-do and finely dressed down to the lowliest peasants. They've trapped themselves like fish in a river trap. A nobleman in fine dress points at us, shouting something in his tongue. I walk forward to him and hold a hand to stop my men from moving forward into the room. I offer rage and horror. Their God does nothing to prevent this beast from entering this hallowed place. I half expected to be blocked by magic or met by something of their myth, but no, their God must be very weak indeed, or these people must have done something terrible to deserve this treatment. I wander up to the mouthy rich man, who quietens as I get within arm's length of him. He's older and handsome, his clothes are of high quality. He hasn't got a beard, and he has short hair. I walk around him as the others in the room have moved away, leaving him like an offering to face me. I wander around him, looking the man up and down, and he stands nervously, silent, shaking, and watching me. I turn to my men at the door who are wondering what fun is going to happen here. They're in no rush to join me. "I think he thinks his God will help him out," shouts a Viking, and my crew laugh. "I think their God's a little fucked and he's not going to help," says another. "Look, he's stuck there." He points at a giant crucifix hung on the wall at the back of the room. A shit joke, but the men do their duty and laugh for him. I turn again to the nobleman and smell the terror in him, but he stands, and I admire him in that. I reach forward and touch his sword hilt, shaking it and trying to mime to him that he should draw it. Wolston steps forward from my men. "He cannot draw his blade in here. It would mean he desecrates this holy place." And then he laughs. Bizarre. I again nudge the sword and then push the man. The crowd behind him offer words and sounds of shock. The man refuses to draw his sword, so I grab him by the back of his cloak and drag him to the door of the building and fling him on the ground outside the church building. He's now lying on the dirt in his finery. I hope he feels he has to fight now. What type of man would not fight now? He stands and removes his cloak, laying it carefully over a post before returning to meet me. He draws his blade. It's truly a thing of beauty, and I'm slightly stunned by it. And then he starts shouting at me. He's terrific to behold. I turn my back as he is grabbed and bound by many hands. He will be worth more to us alive than dead. I wander to the church door. None have even tried to escape. What do they think's going to happen? Fen and I separate. I hold the door open as a naked man. Fen sits by me as we invite our warriors to enter. They wander in a little bit dazed and confused and laughing as the people scream at their entry. To be continued. Thanks for listening. Please review and share the podcast on the platform. It does mathematical thingamies with analytical thingamies and makes the podcast more visible. It also strokes my vast ego, even if you hate it, to be honest. The worst thing you can do is ignore me, so don't. Other than that, there's books out there and stuff. My next book's coming out at the end of, August the 7th it's being published. How dare I not know that. Yeah, go buy shit. It's really nice of you. I mean, I make the Kindles as cheap as possible. I think they're like 77p or something, so I don't even make any money out of it. Bit of a dick, really, aren't I? Anyway, always remember, I love you. Bye.
On a mission like an infantry soldier. Mad musical freedom fighter.
Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf the Podcast, a serial killer drama.